Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Jamaal Solomon, and you're watching the Money Doesn't Grow on Trees interview series, where I just open up my network to you guys because I just learned that we shouldn't take for granted, especially when we have a great inner circle that's just diverse and knowledgeable. So I just want to give you a glimpse of it. We're not going to have a long conversation. It's just going to be one part that we're going to talk about, and hopefully y'all will see why I wanted the spotlight to y'all, and y'all take it from there. All right, guys. So if you should know by now, I'm a tax accountant. I'm the CEO and founder of J.S. Tax Corporation, which is a virtual tax company. I also work with Allstate as an insurance agent. I'm an executive director and founder of a youth financial literacy organization, PTA, dad, Kappa. I got no life. Where do I find the time? Just sum it up as Jamaal doesn't have a life. But like I said, today we got James Moye today, and you know me, I don't do traditional intros. I'm just gonna let y'all know, personally why I feel comfortable interviewing this person. He's an accomplished human resource manager. That's cute, but it's whatever. We're not talking to him about that today. We don't care about that. Maybe another video, but we're not caring about that today. I recently just started getting into comics. Like, I sold all my expensive basketball cards, and I was mentally all messed up in the head. And I'm like, you know what? I need another fix. And then another bro introduced me to comics. None of y'all, we both know him. It's the Kappa brother, Anoop. And then he just started exposing me more and more to comics and who's in it. And then I saw the next guest, James Moye stuff. And I mean, he's talking about cookies. He got Cookie Monster. He does videos live. So he took it to the next. I felt like he took it to the next level, because sometimes you got comic book people that just, okay, here's a comic book. Yo, give me some cash. All right. But he takes it to the next level. So I want to discuss with him, like, what's his views on operating a successful comic book business. So everybody, James, thank you for coming out. Please introduce yourself, man.
Thank you. And Jamaal, it's not that you don't have a life, it's that every second of your life is filled with meaningful things, brother. So you are making an impact. So you definitely are doing your thing, because I see you are like the man with 8 different arms. So here you go, man. Hey, thank you for having me on the show, brother. And I appreciate it, man. Yeah, like you said, this collectible industry has gone through so many changes, and comic books are now back in good graces. For a long time, when I was collecting in the 90s, comics were like, oh man, they went downhill. No one was real. You had to be hardcore to be reading it. And I kind of got out of it for a good 15, 20 years. Pandemic, man, brought me right back into it. So my journey started back again with the pandemic. And as you mentioned, I'm in human resources. That's my day job. I oversee how human beings function on a job and the human capital and all that good stuff. But in my after hours, I get to be this guy going through, a fantasy world that I've read in a comic, or, this superhero that I get to see, and it connected me. And in my search for something to do during the pandemic, I actually saw YouTube, and YouTube had these comic book auctions, and and I just learned, hey, you could sell comics so that you can buy bigger comics, and that became my process. And as you can see, I'm a dad, and the little one is set up over there, and he hears me, so he wants to be louder, right? So
yeah, don't worry about it. If my 3-year-old runs, we just continue. Don't worry about it.
that's how it is these days. Most people are, even on business meetings, right? You kind of give them the look over here, like, 1 second, right? And they'll quiet down for a minute, but then it goes back. But that's life, man, because we're all in this virtual world nowadays, where the kids are like right next to you. But long story short, man, I started making some money so I could buy more comics that I wanted. And it got to the point where, if you're a little bit charismatic, people are interested in seeing you on the YouTube, right? People are interested in seeing you on the internet, and you can now bring in a little bit of an audience that will help others sell their books. but it's also about kind of entertainment, right? So when I do a comic book auction, my motto is come for the books, stay for the laughs, right? Because everyone's cutting up, the chat is interacting, we're having a good old time. Meanwhile, hey, I just sold you $250 worth of books.
Yeah.
My man just sold you another $1,000 worth of books. So at the end of the night, you got people who are happy on both ends, right? And so that's the genesis of this. That's what I kind of do. And I'm growing my collectibles. As you can see, I got Funkos behind me. I got big Marios. So it doesn't just stop with comics, but the world of comics kind of has kind of engulfed me most recently, Jay. So definitely that's me. That's my journey. I'm Jay Moye, father, husband, day job, and side hustle, as we all need to have multiple income streams, which I learned
Yeah.
from you, good sir. So thank you again for having me on.
Yeah, and I love that. I think if you was just the regular, like, oh, here's the comic books, I probably wouldn't have been attracted to your Instagram page. Or like the first time I really looked at a comic book YouTube thing was your thing, because it's funny, guys. And we had this conversation prior to this. He didn't know this, but I love Cookie Monster. Like Sesame Street, all you gotta do is put Cookie Monster on, and you got my undivided attention. It doesn't care if I'm 4 years old, 15, or 40. I'm into Cookie Monster, right? So
Right.
he always says cookies, and you got the Cookie Monster, and I'm like, yo, I'm in. And then I start learning the other stuff that I didn't know, because I'm like one of those ultra beginners. Like I know Superman, Batman, Joker,
Right.
boom,
Right.
that's it. And but you grab the attention of other people that is just not hardcore yet, and I love that, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
you
So how can
brought
other
up
people
a
get do
piece.
that?
Yeah, I mean, you brought up an interesting point there, right? Something about this, you have to connect to people, right? And one of the first times I was doing this, my wife and son would be like, "Hey, Daddy, make me cookies, right? Make me cookies." So I would always be like, "Oh, I got those fresh baked cookies, guys. I got those fresh baked cookies," and people would start equating my comics to fresh baked cookies, right? So anytime you see somebody dropping the cookies or a little Cookie Monster, that is representing me. So it became this whole other entity where, you know, the fresh baked cookies, the Cookie Monster, all of that has engulfed my personality in a
That is
sense of
beautiful.
that's my online characteristics, man. I'm giving you what is Cookie Monster. He wants the best of the best cookies, man.
That is
And if I
beautiful.
equate my comics and my collectibles to the freshest baked cookies, y'all gonna be like, yeah, I want fresh baked cookies too. And what's weird is I went
Yeah.
to so I'm no celebrity, man, but in my head, we all could be one, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I went to a signing in Annapolis, and it was just to get James Tenney in the fourth, who is a great artist and writer. I'm not artist, a great writer.
Mhm.
A signature on some of my books, and I'm on the line talking to a couple of my buddies who met me up there, and this guy says, "Man, you look and sound familiar." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, yeah." He was like, "Oh, you're the Cookie Monster. You're on the show on Sundays, blah blah blah." I was like, I have arrived. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you know? So, it's a little, like I said, if you have a little bit of personality, if you have a little characteristics to you, you can kind of build a following and an audience a little bit faster. Not saying that you need that, but you
Mhm.
do need
Yep.
it's like anything when you're marketing yourself, the
Mhm.
more kind of the ability to connect with people, or like you said, Cookie Monster connects with you. So that's bringing you in, even if you're
Yeah.
not hardcore comics. You're like, what the hell is fresh baked cookies? Let me find out what that is. And then you're like, oh, comics. And now we're calling you Booster Gold because you're talking about the money, right? And we need the NFT knowledge. But long story short, that's the genesis of Cookie Monster. That's how I get people who may not be hardcore comic or collectible people to even consider buying my stuff, because I'm trying to connect your Sesame Street roots, your need for warmth and
Yeah.
comfort of a chocolate chip cookie with some nice books and a smile, man. So instead of a Coke and a smile, it's a cookie and a smile.
And you know what? And this kind of goes beyond comic books, but sometimes you just got to go with your heart, right? Like if you were scared about how people might think it was Cookie Monsters or the cookies, you wouldn't be where you're at. And it's the same thing with me. Like I tell people all the time, Crypto J started out as a private joke to my wife. I say, you know what? I'm tired of being a boring accountant. If I ever come back in this earth in my next lifetime, I'm gonna be a DJ, and people's gonna call me DJ Crypto J. And my wife
That's hot.
hated it. She hated it, right?
That's
And it was
hot.
always a private joke. And then one day I'm driving home from a family vacation, and my whole family is knocked out, and I just had a vision in my head to take it public. Like I was in a big crowd, and I was under Crypto J, and I say, you know what? I don't know if people are gonna take to this or whatever the case may be, but I'm gonna do it. If people say it suck, but I'm gonna do it. But the moment I did it, because at the end of the day, Crypto J explains complex tax stuff.
Yes.
Boring as hell crap. Boring, and people really got to it, and it was amazing. So guys, I know we went a little above comics, but I don't care how crazy the idea is. If God, however you think about life, put that idea in your head, just run with it. Just don't really ask all your friends about it, because they're gonna be like, whoa, you want to be called Crypto J? What's that about? You want to do cookies? Cookies? What? You want to do cookies? Just go with your heart, and I guarantee even if you so-called fail, something great is gonna happen, man.
And what you did there, Jay, was not only did you what do we always say? If you believe it, you can achieve it, right?
Yeah.
Or if you dream it, you can achieve it. You not only took an idea that, what if, right? You said, let me put it out there, bro. You what do they say? You miss every shot you don't take, man.
Nope.
And for you to connect Crypto J to what you do, you've broaden that audience, right? So there's a lot of people who don't want to hear about tax shit. Tax.
Nah, you can curse. It's all good. Yeah.
And they don't want to really have to focus on that complex stuff. But when you break it down and you're like, man, I'm talking to you in this lingo, right? Okay, well, he's already Crypto J. That's a hip hop edge to it, but it's also people are buzzword is crypto, right? NFT, all of that. So when you say that, then you can bring it back to the table, right? Because I brought Crypto J onto an interview, and people are like, oh, what is a Crypto J? And then you brought up the one key thing that nobody's talking about, the insurance of your products, your comics. And you're like, oh, wait, I thought you were going to be talking about cryptocurrency and you brought back even the basics of it, of how are you protecting your family and your assets and what's happening, right? So the way you developed your brand and the way you put it out there, man, that was beautiful, man. I think that's what people have to do. They have to go what's in their heart, try it, and then course correct, right? Because that's a part of life. So absolutely, man.
I appreciate those kind words, man. But let me ask you, because comic books intimidate me, just like how people talk to me about taxes. I'm like, oh my God, because there's so much characters, there's so much different universes, and I'm like, oh hell. Like if you just starting out, like what's your recommendation on just starting out?
Here's what you want to do, right? If you already know characters that you love, like from your childhood or something like that, take it. Most people know Spider-Man and whatnot from that nature. You might just want to get started with a current Spider-Man title, right? And say, okay, what's going on in the Spider-Man world? If you can start reading through that, the other big thing is take your time, jump on YouTube. And this is what I'll say, right? There's a lot of content creators out there who are breaking down comic books and arcs for you, right? So I was out of comics for a good 15, 20 years. I missed a whole bunch of the arcs. So I'm like, I'm not going back to read what happened with the Skrulls and all of this stuff. So there's actually content creators out there that will explain the arc of what happened in Venom for the last 10 years, right? So if I want to catch up, you can either buy the trade paperback and read it all, or go onto like a YouTube and find out what the arc of that is about, so that you're like, okay, I'm reading this currently. I want to start to buy some of those older comics because they're worth money, but I also want to know what they're about, right? I don't want to just blindly buy stuff and not know if they're going to be valuable or not. So if you're a new collector, first thing we always say is collect what you like, right? So try and find, there's so many avenues you can go now. So if you're a superhero guy, tons of superheroes, right? But you can break it down to who are my basics. If you are interested in the content, the story, you might want to go indie these days, or like a black label, because the story, like if you ever just read like a graphic, a novel, and you was engulfed in that, a lot of these indie stories, like Something Is Killing the Children or Nice House on the Lake, will take you on a wild ride. And it's not about the superhero that's flying through the air. It's about Joe Blow, who has to deal with a complex life situation. Now, there may be some supernatural stuff going on, or other type of powers, but it's not necessarily your traditional superhero stuff. So really collect what you like. Go to the comic book stores. Those places do exist, right? Not everything is online. You can walk in and you can say, hey, Joe behind the counter, what's new? What should I get into? And they may have a 2-minute conversation with you to say, hey, what do you like? Do you like this? Here's a recommendation. That's always tried and true as well.
And it's funny that you said, there's stores that says a store just kind of opened. I lucked out when I just decided to kind of look into comics. A store opened up down the block from me. It was like heaven sent. But here's the deal. I hope comic book people don't shame me, but I'm gonna keep it honest. I'm gonna keep it honest.
Yes, keep it real.
I'm not like I'm learning for myself personally. I don't think I'm really into the story. I just into the covers. I look at it as the covers is a work of art to me. And like, so like, I think you said Who's Killing the Children.
Yeah.
Those covers are so freaking fascinating to me. And I really like when I buy it, it's only for the cover because it makes me feel a certain way. Should I be shamed? Can I tell the store owner that?
Nah, actually, bro, to be honest with you, there's a whole industry within the industry, right? So I got back into comics. Comics were traditional, let me pull something out. So your comics, you may have had a traditional comic that had, a title and all of this stuff on it, right? But then when I got back into comics, I noticed complete covers, no words, works of art.
Oh my
This
God,
is what I'm talking about. And actually, this is metal on top of that, right? So I'm not opening this metal book. I am getting it for the artwork and also to slab it. And that's another lingo for putting it in an encasement and being able to preserve it. I will buy a regular soft cover book and read it, but this is a metal cover. It's also what they call a virgin cover, which means it has no words on it. It's all about the art. And when I saw that, now the art, you can tell that there's a market for what you just asked for, Jay, because the virgin covers sometimes go for double, triple the price of the trade. They call it the trade cover and the virgin, right? So the most popular covers now are the virgin covers because the art is so, on a grand scale, and you don't have anything blocking your view. And literally, people are hanging these things in their walls.
Yep, that's what I want to do. Yep.
It's a beautiful art landscape, man. And no
I feel
longer
good now.
no longer are you able to say, oh, comics are just for reading. They're visually works of art, man.
I feel much better now because I felt the shame. Like, you know what, the stories, because I don't like y'all heard what I do in my life. I really don't have time to get into multi-universe stuff, but sometimes when I'm feeling low or I have like, a day, I just look at the covers and I'm just fascinated by like the genius of these artists, man. I'm just so fascinated how well they do it, man. And that kind of makes me feel good sometimes. So that's why I love them, man.
Hey, man, it connects you to different times in your life, man. When you look at comics, when you look at art, when you have the time to kind of do some of the stuff that you liked growing up, it can take you away from some of that. Even if it's just 15 minutes, we do need to disconnect, man, because when we go on 100% of the time, if we're not thinking and doing some of the things that we actually will help us wind down some and kind of give us a little peace of mind, we can explode inside, right? And that's where that burnout comes, right? So the comics, the collectibles, even if you just taking the 5 minutes, like you said, to look at a beautiful piece of artwork. And that's another thing, man. You start to follow and get a feel for the type of artist that you like, right? So I now know the names of, dozens of artists that they do their individual own style. So someone like a David Mack, he does these beautiful mosaic looking prints, and you're like, oh my God, this will blow you away. Whereas like someone like a Peach Momoko is like an anime style, and you're like, ooh, I never thought of seeing, you know, Superman or Batman or Spider-Man drawn that way. And it kind of, it's like really, like you said, it ties the art world to the comic world. And guess what? Cover art sells far more than the comics sometimes. You know, if you get the original art for some of these comic covers, they sell for tens of thousands of dollars. So if you go onto one of your favorite artists' sites, they're often selling their work for the covers, and you might buy the comic for $100, but that original piece of art is $3,500, and that's what brings it back. And you're like, oh wait, this is really art. Because if I'm paying $10,000 for this original work and it's gonna increase in value, I'm making an investment. This is a piece of art. So you shouldn't feel bad at all, bro.
Nice. Now I'm gonna talk my talk publicly. I mean, but in general, because I'm all things, I love seeing entrepreneurs win. So I love when the artists could, you know, not be controlled by a corporation. They use their skills, they make it. So in general, I just love that in general. But let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, give your contact information, what you got up. But guys, I am going to put in description. So if you don't remember everything he says, don't worry. It's going to be in description, all his information. But let the people know what they should know about you.
I'm SandzGroup Collectibles. Look at me, check me out on social media. I'm SandzGroup Collectible. The biggest way you're going to see me is going to be on YouTube. Actually, tonight, Sunday night, 8 o'clock. Or every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, I have comic book auctions, and you can find me there. But social media, SandzGroup_Collectibles. And if you need something, I'm the man. I'm also what I like to say, a conduit for the people, right? You know how we grew up, and there's no sugarcoating it. We all come from the hood. I'm a Harlem boy, right?
Yeah.
We all grew up, and there's always a hustle, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, Sands, can you get X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, well, yeah, I could definitely get that. And I could make some money while I do it. I'll sell it for my man. My man makes some money while you get the book you want, and I get a little cut, right? So there's always a hustle to some stuff. So you can always reach out to Sands. Sands got inventory, and if I don't got it, I will find a way to get it or get you to the right person who got it.
Nice.
So, you know, that's pretty much how you're gonna find me, SandzGroup Collectible, on the social media front. But YouTube, look me up. Support, sub me up, ladies and gents. You know, I definitely want to get to a certain level on YouTube where I can start to monetize that and start to really grow it. And I was just talking to my brother Jamaal about a new show called Blank Cover Battles.
Woo.
That is going to be coming to you guys on December 4th, ladies and gents.
Crazy.
Spread the word. We're going to be on YouTube, on my channel. We're going to blow it up. 2 artists head to head, like Food Network challenge, but I'm giving them 1 hour to spit hot fire on a blank comic book cover, and the winner is going to get a prize and also the chance to sell their new work of art on one of my shows, bro. So
yeah, it's gonna be fire, guys. And I'm gonna yeah, no, I don't BS, y'all. I watch the shows, and he has like I think three other guests. And those dudes are hilarious. I mean, like they was just talking. I said, what the hell? I think one dude was wearing a costume and another dude gave me a nickname. It was just, but you learn a lot, you know, at the same time, which is beautiful. And you know what I need to do? My final thing, I need to hook up with someone because I want to do a comic book financial literacy comic book. But it has to be wild. It can't be like, no, oh, Johnny made money. Nah.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, there's a guy. I would connect you with the guy. His name is Reggie Collects. A brother. I think he's in the Carolinas. But he's really doing big things, and he just put out a how to collect pro tip book, right? But this brother is he has a financial background too, I think. he might be the right person to reach out to, or just watch his videos and see if you think he might be the right person, because he's got a platform that's already connected to a lot of major companies that's moving stuff.
I guess the real question is, do you have to plug?
Well, I mean, I know him peripheral, right? I always be like, hey, Reggie, you want to be on the show? And so I do have an ear to the brother, but it's not necessarily like I know him like, yo, bro, put my man on. So I could definitely make the link.
But I think I got to hit you on the side and just ask you in general, if there's like an independent artist that be willing to do like a project like that, because at the end of the day, I don't want it to be like Johnny this. It got to be crazy.
Oh yeah, I think yeah, we definitely could find an artist and some good stuff to get you set up. But you also mentioned one of my other products, which is Wine and Cheese and Comics, Please, which you was actually on.
Yep.
So I do comic book auctions on a weekly basis, but then once a month I do what's called Wine and Cheese and Comics, Please. It's a sophisticated approach. That's where I put my little sports jacket on. We have a glass of wine, we have some cheese, some crudité, and we actually politic about what's going on in the industry that can be impacting you from a financial basis. You know, all of the thing that's going on with the you know, new NFTs and everything else. So that's that right there.
Listen, guys, just keep track of this guy because he's onto some things, and don't say that Jamaal tried to hide him from you and you didn't know. I'm putting y'all on right now. You got to keep track of him, guys. So, yo, James, thank you so much for coming out. I think we're gonna do more big things together, and I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you having me on, brother. Anytime, man, and keep doing what you're doing, man. You shining like a diamond, my brother. Appreciate you.
All right, bro.